Okay, is everyone here?
Yep, I'm here. Steve Peck from AT&T.
Yes, Steve is here. Hi, Steve. Vamsee. Kevin is having some trouble with the video.
Yeah, so I think the background is a bit problematic, so I'll just leave the video off if that's okay. Let me just
that's also okay. Or you can maybe change the background to something like a blue screen or something if you want. Okay, no worries. All right. So firstly, guys, thanks for being here. I know we are done with 2 sessions. Now it's the exciting time for the roundtable because now we don't have 1 person, we have 3 people, and of course me, the host. So what is the roundtable about? It's about the AI agent security threats and risks. So we're going to be doing a bunch of conversations, question answers, discussions around agentic security threats and risks. Before we do that, inviting and welcoming our panelists, Kevin Cornally. A bit of introduction, Kevin, before I move to everyone else.
Cool. Thanks, Ankita. And listen, well done on the conference and the products and the product release last week. We're always super excited to follow along with our J.P.Morgan alumni here. So super impressive and well done. Yeah. So to everybody, my name is Kevin Cornally. I work for J.P.Morgan. I lead a team of highly skilled engineers who do data and AI security across some of our centrally vended data and AI capabilities. So super excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity again, Ankita.
Awesome. Thank you. No, Kevin, wonderful to have you here. We are going to learn a lot from you. So I'm excited. Let's see. So Vamsee works at HP. He's the director AI product security. Vamsee, quick intro from yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I lead a couple different initiatives here at HP as we're making the big bet on enterprise AI. Prior to this, I've been in the automotive industry for a long time, so I'm very used to dealing with a lot of regulations and how to make sure our product is safe. Right now, I'm dealing with a lot of cloud security, application security, API security engagement. So glad to be here.
Amazing. All right, Steve Peck. Welcome. Steve works in AT&T. He's the director, AI security expert. He agreed to be here at the last moment. So firstly, thank you for that, Steve. Bit of intro on yourself for the audience.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Peck. I'm with AT&T. In the cybersecurity department of our company, this specific team that's handling AI security was established last year, and I'm leading their team. At the moment, we are doing a little bit of everything in relation to AI security, from the security posture assessment, AI red teaming, the product evaluation, etc. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome, Steve. Yeah, I cannot wait to start the conversation. This is going to be 45 minutes of just fun, pure fun. Let's start. Okay, so the format is, guys, we'll keep it very free flowing. Whoever wants to chime in on different things, they can. It doesn't have to be fixed on one topic, but it will be around agentic security. So let's start there. I think the biggest question that I hear and I want our audience to know about is from all of you guys. We talked about a little bit of MCP security risk in the last 2 sessions, but let's talk about AI agent risks for enterprises. What are those biggest AI agent risks for enterprises today? Anyone over here can start.
I'll go, Ankita, that's okay. So, yeah, look, there are lots to consider, but there's 3 main ones that we consider in our daily task when we're evaluating the systems that we're building and consuming internally. The first one is got a bit of a fancy title, so it's agent composition problem. So again, the agent effective permissions are like a union of all the tools that it has access to, multiplied by its reasoning. So, and again, I'm sure everybody's read Simon Willison's amazing blog. He calls this the lethal trifecta. So the the lethal trifecta, and just to ground it in an example, so if you can imagine a developer with access to a Snowflake notebook who has curl on his desktop and also has access to an MCP server. So those three scenarios, or those three attributes mixed together in a scenario have this potential for data exfiltration, via compromised MCP servers, data on his desktop, and then an exfiltration mechanism via curl, which everybody has on their desktop. So that composition problem, so when the whole thing gets designed together, how do we make sure that we don't have data exfiltration in our agentic ecosystems? That's something we're very, very focused on, and it's a pattern that we sort of ground ourselves on to make sure it doesn't occur. And then secondly, I guess, is good old indirect prompt injection. This seems to be the technology or the facet of this ecosystem that just keeps on giving. Every day. The instances and the occurrence of this and the novelty, the techniques that are being developed to do prompt injection seem to be continuing and abating, and it's a perennial problem that, as an industry, I think we haven't fully solved. And then lastly, some of our existing tools, some of our existing security testing aren't really effective in these non-deterministic systems that we're building. It's still AppSec to an earlier point made, but again, it's got a model in the middle. And how do we uplift our capabilities, governance, and tools to adapt to this non-deterministic behavior is the third thing that we're very focused on. So I'll stop talking. There are the three things that I guess I just wanted to say in terms of AI security risks that were top of mind for us.
I'd have to agree with Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll say that those are actually all really great points. I'd actually like to take it a step back. I think the biggest risk is that, C-suite and execs are being pitched how AI agents will be a silver bullet, will solve a lot of their problems overnight. So we're really rushing to kind of patch potential issues without really understanding what the implications are there too. So I think starting there, there's a little bit more of due diligence that needs to be done to understand what exactly is happening. Kevin touched a point where, the current DLP tools that we have in place don't really account for a lot of this agentic workflow. If the developer has access to XYZ, and they typically do have privileged accesses, that agent can run rampant, and you can't really tell the difference between a rogue employee and their rogue agent doing some type of exfiltration. So I think that type of visibility is another growing problem.
Yeah, along the same line, the thing about this agent, in its core, the capability of doing things autonomous manner, right? It's doing things, by itself. Then the question is, are they indeed doing things as intended, right? And are they, accessing this data only, those data sources they are allowed to, or they are intended to access, right? Those kind of things play a very important role. And when we are evaluating these AI solutions to monitor the behaviors of these, Gen AI agents, right? Then initially, we've talked to many vendors, and they were saying we can, provide really good end-to-end visibility. But then when we dig in a little bit more, and when we are going through proof of value testing, we realize that it's very hard to, get a, good visibility of this Gen AI agent, especially, the data access and from data lineage point of view. So I would say two biggest challenges is autonomous behavior and then the access.
Got it. Awesome. So these are really good talking points for me also. So Kevin mentioned data exfiltration, prompt injection, tools being used, and there's lots of agents being used right now. So there's visibility problem. Vamsee mentioned visibility problem, rogue agents. And Steve, yours is more around access, right? Access management. So these are all, I think, in pockets. I've heard from most of our customers, prospects, everyone in the last few months. All of these are very, very critical problems. We can't say number one is prompt injection, or number two is maybe access control or something. So it really depends on the organizations. But Uh, yeah, essentially everything that you guys have mentioned are really the AI agent risks. Curious to know one thing, which is, and this is just a very quick question for the audience, because I hear this a lot that, hey, Ankita, you're building agentic security, but are people really adopting agents and MCPs? So you guys work in large organizations. I want you to maybe answer very quickly on this. Are in your organizations or in organizations that you see, or you have friends in different companies, what are people doing? Are developers really adopting agents and MCPs, or is it really a myth?
Yeah, in AT&T, we are embracing this really, the big time. Yeah. And then, from your security point of view, now we need to kind of provide how they can safely and effectively use these tools.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that also. I think every technical organization I've been with, the developers are very future forward friendly. So they are adopting, it's a shiny new toy for them. So it's our responsibility to deploy it in a safe manner, because if you don't, they'll find, interesting ways to make it work for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kevin, I'm guessing the answer is similar for you. Developers are adopting.
Yeah, big fat yes on interest, consumption, and demand. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. We're talking about the security of this because developers are adopting. So yes, so everyone who has this question on, are companies even adopting it? I think I haven't seen, I have talked to 200 plus organizations in the last few months. I haven't seen a company not adopting MCPs or AI agents, be it the largest of the largest organization or a small startup. Everyone is, and sure, they are not fully functional production ready agents, or maybe they are not as good as you'd like them to be, but developers are adopting, they are building, they are um, doing something with them. So, and that means security teams have to be ready. So great stuff there. Okay, so my next question is really, and you can say this is not really a concern, but I think, and I've seen people talking about this, which is, if you're briefing it doesn't have to be just board, but management tomorrow, how would you explain the business impact of agentic risks? So it could be your CEO, your management, or board, any of these. Anyone, yeah.
So I would say there's a couple big business impact risks. One being regulatory exposure. I mean, depending on which industry you're in and what type of customers you're supporting, everything from GDPR to HIPAA, right? All of those records and access could be leaked. So that's a huge fine associated with that. If you have any type of OT facilities like factories, if you're in manufacturing, there is operational disruption there too. So that's a direct impact to your bottom line. So I would typically turn or have conversations regarding the risk regarding those exposures and what we need to invest in to prevent that.
Got it. So you will tie the story more with the regulatory risks. Yeah. Okay. And anyone else?
Yeah.
So, telecommunication field, let's say we deploy these GenAI agents, and the agents, behave autonomously and somehow impact our core communication network. Then it'll directly impact our, the operation and our business, which will incur financial loss, right? So the financial loss point of view, that can be one example. And also from data access point of view, somehow, these agents access, the sensitive data they are not supposed to access, and then through various AI adversarial tactics, if that data gets leaked, then there's a like reputational along with the financial damage right there, right?
Got it. So your story will tie more towards financial loss and data sensitivity, something that
Yeah.
management obviously will care about a lot. Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, just come back to Vamsee's very well made point about like these current agentic architectures as they exist today, they lack explainability. So like one of the strong binary arguments or requirements you get from a regulator is that you need to be able to explain or reverse engineer the decisioning, like be it, in GDPR or Article 22, or, I'm not a HIPAA expert, but again, there is a requirement to explain the decisioning. You lose that explainability when you deploy some of these agentic systems. So either the technology or the regulation needs to be uplifted in sync. But that's one thing. The second, well, I had two more. So the other one I was going to kind of touch on was is operational continuity risk. So again, if we deploy these agents, they can do a lot of actions and potential damage at scale. And again, it's often hard to reverse out the decision-making process when you chain across, the internal workings of an LLM, out to the agentic calls, out to how all that data was loaded into context together. It's very hard to reverse out an issue in the agentic system compared to like our current stanza around, we do rollbacks or we do code analysis. The complexity, the operational continuity risk is significantly increased when you start to roll out agentic systems at scale. And I guess the last one I was going to highlight was that we now have supply chain lock-in. That's a bit unusual. So when we consume conventional SaaS products, you get an API and you get an SLA and you get like a Swagger file that tells you how to use it. It's a little bit more nuanced when you're dealing with a model, right? They've all got different personalities. There's different psychological attachments we often get to these models. So it's a different consumption and dependency problem set than we used to have, which is static old our kind of standard SaaS style patterns that I think as an industry and a race that we're still getting used to. And I think that was very much evident in all the OpenAI, it's GPT-5 released this year when they released the models, and with all these different personality traits, and the whole Reddit blew up. So that's an unusual one that I think we probably need to spend more time thinking about as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow, smart. So yours is more regulatory, which Vamsee also mentioned. The operational continuity is a big piece, especially given how big J.P.Morgan is, or AT&T or HP for that matter is, right? Every enterprise which has made more than 10,000 employees or like developers, you will have these kind of issues. And the third one you mentioned is supply chain risks. So and the complexity of it. So it becomes way more complex as you think about larger organizations and enterprises where you have all these developers doing adopting this technology. So great. The follow-up question on this is, and this is again a curious question for me. Have you seen management or board really push back on this, or they've been, they've been okay, they've been responsive, they understand the risks. It's not really you have to create a business case or something for agentic risk. What do you guys think? It's like just a quick question on this.
So again, yeah, I would say that, they've been told that, XYZ type of, AI agent tools will provide, 30-40% efficiency. So then it's our job to kind of make it work and explain, if it's possible, or again, in this situation, if it's not, explain why it won't be possible. So it's mostly related to, background info work on, trying to figure out how to make sure that we can attain those goals.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my experience of working with customers, especially, and we've worked with different problems in cybersecurity, especially this one. It's not been very hard for our customers to communicate to the management about the risks and business impact of using AI agents or agentic technology. I think management kind of understands this pretty fast because of just the nature of AI agents and MCPs. So that's been easier, but of course the risks are high, so not easy to implement security there. Okay, so yeah.
I was gonna add on that really quickly. So yeah, I think maybe their view of it isn't as deep as the, typical subject matter expert. But I remember, about 2 years ago when Office 365 Copilot and, Zoom AI started coming out, there were a lot of discussions then because they're trying to understand, okay, this is an agentic Zoom tool. What exactly does that mean? All of our conversations are being prescribed and saved somewhere. They're being automated emails being sent out, right? That's an agentic workflow in some sense, even though it's fairly simple. So, their view of it is kind of like a black box that's an AI. And the magic happens inside, and we have to figure out what to put before it and after it to kind of sanitize it.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, you're right. So that's why it becomes really important to remove the technical part of it and really show the business impact, right? From a leadership perspective. Great. So moving to maybe my next question, which is something I get asked a lot. So maybe I'll throw it back to you, and then I'll give you my answer also. What are the first three guardrails AI security teams should implement before scaling AI agents to production? Very typical question we get as vendor asked a lot. But yeah, anyone over here?
I would say one of the first things, again, as we're exploring all of these agentic workflows and empowering the developers, the first thing is I want to understand how the developers are using it. So, like I mentioned earlier, visibility, the observability, and then the audit ability, right? I want to understand, how they're using it, when they used it, try to understand kind of the data metrics, and then I can build a really good security program around those.
Got it. So visibility part of it, right? Like getting all the data before you can even take any action.
Perfect.
Nice. Yeah, Steve or Kevin?
Yeah, so when we test out our Gen AI environment, and we quickly noticed that, performing red teaming in Gen AI environment is quite different from your traditional pen testing or red teaming, right? So if you think about traditional red teaming, a lot of times, the focus on the compute infrastructure or, network layer, network devices, and etc. But for AI adversarial testing, maybe like 60, 70% focus is on the data, right? Because depending on how your data, gets infected, it'll directly dictate the behavior of your large language model or Gen AI agent, right? So like from data poisoning, prompt injection, and config the system file, the changing configuration in those system or the config files, pretty much, these activities are around, the data and how you manage your data, right? So the data management, data access, data lineage, we quickly realized that even during the AI adversarial testing, that plays a very critical role, right? So, from the guardrail point of view, it is very important, right? You put adequate guardrail around your data, and in doing so, if you add that agentic layer, then the ID management from non-human identity management point of view also plays a very important role, right? So I would say the non-human ID management, right, and then the data access control.
Got it. Awesome. So NHI basically and data access control is the first thing you'd probably look at. And of course, data is the biggest problem. Vamsee also mentioned he wants data before he can even take an action on guardrails. Kevin, what's your point of view here?
Cool. So yeah, look, I concur with Vamsee that the first place to start is like real-time observability. So, but when that data set is deep enough to take action on, that you would have automated circuit breakers and behavioral guardrails being built into the systems before they're rolled out. But that is a process that takes a bit of time. The second thing I had was like input validation with prompt firewall. So again, you could use a BERT or a Llama Guard or like whatever the open source product you want to use for like doing, the very vanilla or like the base set of strings that identify a problem. So, your classics like ignore previous or disregard or any identifier that would identify like a role confusion attempt or like an encoding payload. Like those type of attacks or issues in the system are textual. They're fairly prevalent and they're fairly easy with our good old friend regex in many cases to block and deter. It's not perfect, but it's certainly a good starting point that we've observed is successful in terms of like getting rid of a lot of low-hanging fruit that have those indicators of compromise. As I said, that old ignore previous. If you could stop that getting sent to the model, you're probably going to squash a significant amount of the issues that exist. And then lastly, look. I mean, ultimately, when we get past MCP agents, we envisaged that a lot of our time would be spent at the tool level. So we're going to move from just authorizing and authenticating the agents, get down into the tools and build wrappers around those agentic systems, like middleware around them that intercept the tool calls, quantify the tool calls, risk rate the tool calls. Some of them are read, some of them are write, some of them are delete, some of them are external calls. So like wrapping the agent systems, the land graph that we build on top of with middleware to rate, assess, secure those tool calls is a third thing I think that we're probably going to, our perception is that that's where the industry is going to start focus once we get past authorization and authentication for agents and MCP service.
Oh, wow, very informative answer. So what you're essentially saying is, first thing is, and I think Vamsee and Steve also mentioned the same thing, data monitoring is very important. So you start with monitoring, you really need data to even take an action. Number one. The second one is input validation, the basics of it, right? There are some open source tools, etc., available. You mentioned that for the audience also, if you're listening. Second, the input validation. And the third part, which you said, is more, deeper stuff. If you have all those basics done, maybe the third is, I guess, proxying is probably how I would define it, but really every tool call should pass through it. You should be able to audit it. You should be able to block it if it's not, if it's malicious, if it's an attack, those kind of things. So he's really saying start with the basic and then move into deeper stuff from Guardrails perspective, and that's the future. It's not something that I guess you've seen is what you're saying, right, Kevin?
Yeah, you're probably right. It probably wouldn't be classified as a basic, a day one control, but I think it's something that's inevitable in terms of like where the controls are going to have to be implemented in the tools, because we think there's enough attention on the agents from an authorization and authentication perspective that we need to go down into the tools to really implement secure classifications and oversight. Yeah.
Oh.
One other thing I'd like to add is actually maybe like inventory management for MCP servers, right? Kind of understanding the sprawl. Then you can figure out, hey, like, how do I relieve the pressure of developers? Maybe I can have some official MCP servers, which take care of 90% of the workflows that they're doing. That way you have a better understanding of the surface area that way.
Yeah. Very good point. Inventory of MCP servers. And this is something that we discussed in the last two sessions also. In fact, Rajiv from Microsoft, she mentioned something about inventory as well. There is Microsoft building the registry, has the registry itself. Anthropic has the registry itself. And I asked them also a question that, does it make sense for organizations to start from there for inventory? And they all, by the way, they both, Harish and Raji, mentioned MCP gateway as the first thing to start, maybe for inventory and observability. What's your point there? What's your point of view there, Vamsee?
I actually don't have a strong opinion on that yet. I think I need to spend a little bit more time and see how that's going. But yeah, curious to see like what other implementations are happening in the industry there.
Yeah. We are in the space, and every single day I see somebody or the other developing something similar to what we are doing, and it's very interesting. It's like it's awesome to get inspiration from everyone. looking at Microsoft building MCP registry, Anthropic coming with its own was amazing for us to know that, okay, this is a problem that exists and people are, and big organizations are working on it. They're putting their dollars into it. So which means there is a lot of investment in this space. That's a good thing. That's always a good thing. So yeah, MCP inventory is a big problem. Okay, so moving on to, maybe we can take this as the last question. And then we open up for Q&A, because I'm guessing I've not seen, but there is quite a bit in the Q&A itself. So how should enterprises adapt red teaming for AI agents and MCP tools? And I'm talking red teaming specifically because I think Steve mentioned, if you mentioned red teaming in the previous sessions, also red teaming was mentioned. It's the fastest way, easiest way to at least, find if there are malicious MCP tools or agents. So how do you think enterprises should adopt this? It can be high level, or if you want to go deeper. Steve, maybe we want to start?
Yeah, in the fact that this field is so rapidly evolving, right? I think, the manual static way of performing your red teaming exercise, that's not practical at all, right? So it has to be, in a way, kind of, the autonomous or automated fashion. So, one of the kind of platforms that we are implementing, we actually bring in that platform in just for that, right? It's providing kind of simulated AI, adversarial testing environment, depending on the data, or depending on the config that we kind of configure, and we can continuously, if needed, or we can perform automated fashion of this AI red teaming exercise, so that we can kind of provide the security posture of our Gen AI environment that is like literally constantly evolving.
Wow, got it. Yeah, so I think this is where most organizations are starting with agentic red teaming. Steve, you mentioned data is also a big part of it, right? Just, yeah, building upon that, maybe Vamsee, Kevin, if you have any point of view on agentic red teaming.
Yeah, my view is, again, with red teaming, it's never a one-time exercise. You need a robust program, automated and continuous. So I'd kind of combine the two of those together, right? You want to understand what the repeatability of those tests are like, prove that it's safe and effective.
Yeah, yeah. This is what we are seeing with our customers. People we are working with also, it's not a one-time exercise. They'll start with one, but then they know that, okay, this is something that they will need continuously. So, yeah, so I guess, at least from Akto point of view, it should be a continuous automated program if you're building an agentic red teaming program in your organization. Kevin, what's your thought over here?
Yeah, to Vamsee's point, it's a combination of both. So and again, it all depends on your model consumption pattern. So, I'm not, this number isn't quantified, but I'd imagine that, 80% of use cases, AI use cases, are probably using the same model backends from a variety of cloud providers. So like a baseline against your inference that's consumed by all your apps is certainly the thing that can be automated. And I think that, again, that is a pattern that we're seeing across the industry. But on top of that, we would do a specific AI red teaming use cases that just don't, it's not just the inference, but it's the inference, it's the app, it's the data attached to the app, it's the MCP server. So it's a broader, more pointed, goal-based AI red teaming assessment that we do. But again, that sits on top of that generic inference testing, like all the models from all the big providers. That is the automated solution that we deploy to get rid of like all the low-hanging fruit and all the AI safety validations and AI security validations to an extent that we expect that sits below that use case assessment, pointed goal-based use assessment scenario that I just described. So to Vamsee's point, it's both, right? It isn't either or, it's both really.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add is, again, I mean, it's not even first inning. I'd say it's before that. Things have just started. So it's important for teams to understand to be very fluid also in the way that they're kind of constructing these programs.
Yeah. So got it. Yeah. So it's kind of both, especially with agentic. I think the complexity becomes too much. As you mentioned, Kevin, for model scanning, model red teaming, it was still, there is still automated stuff, and there's like industry has figured it out. But for agentic, it's still like there's lots of moving pieces over here for automation to really kick in. But wow, really wonderful conversations. So we have like 9 minutes left. I want to take it to Q&A because there's lots of people asking lots of wonderful questions. Let's see. Let me stop sharing the screen. Stop share. Okay, Q&A. And we can probably take this one. There is an open question which from anonymous attendee, which the person is asking, it must be very difficult for AI security vendors to convince a CISO into buying yet another security solution in the already long list of security tools. Where does the AI security or MCP security solutions sit in the overall cybersecurity budget? Must have or good to have? Assuming the enterprise is using Gen AI in terms of Cursor or other AI integration. So yeah, the simple question is for a CISO or cybersecurity leader, where does AI security or MCP security fit in the whole budget? Must have or good to have?
So when we were evaluating different types of AI solutions, initially we started with particular functionality, whether it be AI SPM functionality or AI lifecycle management, etc. But then, quickly, like over the course of like last 6 months, we realized that some of these other tools that we are already using internally, it could be like a CNAPP tool, or it could be some other like pen testing tool, recently added the AI SPM components. Many times, they claim, then we also kind of confirm that, the added AI SPM components actually cover, Gen AI agents and MCP. So now, our question and our task is, should we evaluate the existing tools for their added AI, SPM functionalities and go with them, or we, bring in more dedicated, domain-specific tool into our environment, right? So we are actually going through that comparison right now.
Got it. So it's a very good point, right? Like for somebody who's already evaluating today or thinking of evaluation, you can either think of, looking at your current stack, which is always easier because if you're an enterprise, the procurement cycles and just getting a solution is so hard from outside. So always look at your current stack. If there is something that they are providing which can fit into your requirement, look at that. If not, then look at maybe other things as well and compare both, right? That's what you're saying, Steve, for this case, AI security or MCP security. Yeah, anyone else, Vamsee, Kevin, where does it fit in the CISO budget? Good to have or must have?
Listen, I would say, based on the fact that we are the prevalence and the importance of AI security and the changes about to make in organizations, I would guarantee you it will be in the must-have budget. But to Steve's point, like there is a lot of uplift from existing capabilities in existing products to detect and identify, agent frameworks or even MCP servers, be it like statically in SDLC pipelines or in runtime environments where you can detect MCP servers. I know we talked about this before. A lot of the capability doesn't exist, but they are looking for, indicators of MCP servers via the protocols or the tool endpoints to uplift that capabilities. But it's certainly not nice to have based on the risks here, in my view, anyway.
Wow, that's really good. So it's not a nice to have; it's a must have. Kevin says, and yeah, for sure. Vamsee, what's your view?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great question because you will get a different answer from different people in the organizations, right? From, developer side and cyber side, you'll have a much higher ranking than maybe someone from operations or some other side of the house, because they'll just be like, wait a minute, why can't like Netscope or Zscaler or one of the many other DLP tools we're spending millions of dollars a year on catch this? And then you have to kind of explain the intricacies and how it's different, and you go about it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of great conversations happening right now. So there's no correct answer. It just depends on the perspective. But from cyber perspective, obviously we feel it's important.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, these are all cybersecurity teams, and the audience is cybersecurity. For the audience here, I guess this is like a must-have. Awesome. So that was one of the questions that I wanted you guys to answer. There are lots, but I'll take maybe one or one probably more. So there is, it must be very so true detecting anomalies in traffic patterns is analytical. My thought was whether embedding that logic into an AI agent layer could help automate detection, especially in multi-cloud setups. Do you see value in that integration, or is better to keep them separate? What they're saying is, and this is again an anonymous attendee who asked the question at 10:36 if you want to see, but what they're saying is basically, does it make sense to embed the logic into an AI agent layer that could help in identifying anomalies in traffic patterns?
Sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. So
even I'm trying to understand
the way we're analyzing maybe, your typical employee behavior, keeping that separate specifically for agents, is that the premise of the question?
I guess so. Yeah, I think we can skip this question. This probably even I'm not able to understand this. The other one is somebody says, by the way, I agree with Vamsee said. However, the important point is how to check the rogue agentic flow via strong authorization. They haven't really given a lot of context, but that's the question.
I mean, yeah, that's a very difficult answer. I mean, I think if you can figure out how to identify the specific rogue agents, you've kind of solved that specific situation. And it's all about maybe the risk your organization wants to take, what appetite that they have. You want a highly functional agent, you're going to give it more access and functionality, right? You want it to be more automated. If you're more risk averse, then you keep it a lot more basic and you keep it segmented in certain areas. So I think this depends on which industry you're in, what kind of data it's touching, and how your CISO feels about their high level appetite for risk.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, there are lots more questions, but I don't think we can answer here. But this is great, guys. We are nearing the end of the session. Vamsee, Steve, Kevin, wow, amazing answers, conversations that we had. I don't think people have this content. I don't think people have had these conversations in open and available for people to see. It's like closed room conversations is what I've seen. So this is amazing. Thank you for sharing your thought, your perspective, your opinion. And thank you for being here, part of Akto's conference.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. Great meeting everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.